Salut tout le monde. So let's just get into it. Overnight flights are some of the hardest parts of traveling, and I already have a ton of tips up in several of my other videos that I've posted in recent weeks. So I will make a playlist of all of those and put them in the description box below. So once you book your overnight flight, for me, it would be going to France. Eventually. Sometimes you'll be able to choose your seat at no extra cost, which was my case, and sometimes you'll have to pay a little extra to do so. So if choosing your flight seat is not included in your ticket, I don't want to necessarily tell you that you should 100% pay extra money to be able to do that, because obviously everybody has different financial situations. But if it's possible, I would say to spend extra money if that will allow you to pick a seat. And this is because not every airplane seat is created equal. And I don't really think I need to explain this in depth, but middle seats, for example, suck. And if everybody else is choosing their seat on the plane and you're not, likely you're going to be stuck in a middle seat. Again, I think that it is pretty obvious as to why that is my least recommended seat on an airplane, but it's a little more complicated when you look at aisle seats or window seats. For the most part, in the past, I've always preferred aisle seats, and this is because they give you the advantage of not having to wait on the plane once it lands. You can just get up and go as soon as they open the doors, of course. And when you're in flight and say you want to go to the bathroom or something, or just take a little walk, you don't have to worry about climbing over other people or waking them up so that you can get out into the aisle. That being said, obviously this means that if somebody else in the middle seat or in the window seat wants to get up, then you are going to have to get up to allow them to come out, or you will wake up to people climbing over you. Very common occurrence on overnight flights, but if you gotta go, you gotta go. And kind of along with that, another con is when the flight attendants come around with little cups of water or whatever else and some food, they will be reaching over you to give those items to your seatmates. For me, being able to get off of the plane first has always been a huge plus, but of course this boils down to personal preference. So with a window seat, the pros and cons are just going to be flipped. You're going to have to climb over people to get out. You are going to be the last person in your row to leave, but if you're sleeping and somebody else has to get up, you're not going to be disturbed, and nobody's going to reach over you to give a different seatmate food or drink. However, the window seat comes with the potential positive of getting really nice views, and this could be really important for you if you're going to France for the first time. I remember in my first ever flight to France, I thought it was so cool looking through the window and seeing the country exactly as it looks like on a map. It was something that I really wasn't expecting, and I just thought it looked so cool. The window seat could also be for you if you're trying to document your travels and you want to get that shot of clouds or the wing or whatever it is. However, I do say that these views are potential because depending on the seat that you choose against the window, some of the window seats don't actually have windows. And for some of them, the view is going to be completely obstructed by the wing. So since in the past I normally have taken an aisle seat, I don't really have much experience with trying to find the perfect window seat, but from what I've seen online, it's kind of hard to tell because every plane is going to be different. It's going to depend on the ticket type that you have. But also what I found to be really helpful is that with most airlines now, when you go to choose your seat, they'll show you a diagram of the plane. And what you'll want to do if you're choosing a window seat is not be directly parallel to the wing or right behind it. I guess if you go a little farther back, you'll have a better view. Of course, let me know in the comments if you have a better way of choosing the most desired window seat, because again, I don't really have much experience with that area. So aside from the actual seating position, whether you're in the inside, the middle, or the aisle, you'll also want to think about where in the plane you will want to avoid. Personally, I avoid the seats that are in general near the bathroom because obviously fumes, but also because there's going to be more consistent traffic in that area with everybody going up to use the bathroom. Obviously, if you think that you're going to be needing the bathroom more consistently, or if you just need to be close to it, then take that into account. But for me personally, I like staying away from the bathrooms. I also don't sit in the very last row of the airplane because oftentimes you won't have much space to recline the seat. And I don't sit in the very front row either. And I did this once because I thought that since there were no seats in front of me, I was gonna have a ton of leg space. But it was actually very uncomfortable because I didn't realize how much I'd previously relied on being able to put my feet up against the back of a seat. And I wasn't allowed to have my personal item on my lap or in front of me because there was no seat to put it under. If you've watched those videos that I was talking about in the playlist, then you know why that is an issue. So that's all the information that I've gathered in my experience to choose what seats to avoid and what seats to choose. So now I want to talk about something that I find to be super important, which is food. Overnight flights often come with meals. Sometimes if you're on a budget airline, like when I used to fly Norwegian, I don't think I got a meal unless you paid extra for it. But if this is the case, you should be able to choose what type of meal when you are buying your ticket online. So there's this amazing tip that I actually found out by mistake, and it's something that I live by now anytime I'm on an overnight flight. Before I tell you about this tip, if you're getting any value out of this video, please do give it a thumbs up. As you know by now, your likes make me super happy, but they also give this video a much better chance of spreading to other people and giving them tips for overnight flights as well. Back to the food. So once again, this is just the best tip that I accidentally stumbled upon, but I started being a vegetarian the last time that I flew to France. It was so long ago. So this was the first time on a plane when I was deciding on a meal that I had to unselect the standard meal and choose the vegetarian option. Then when I was on the plane, they started coming out with the food, and I was one of the first people to get my meals. And this is because I would assume this is with every meal that is not standard, not just the vegetarian one. But if you're not getting a standard meal, these are the ones that come out first. And I think that it just makes it easier organizationally for the flight attendants. So even if you're not vegetarian, I would definitely recommend at least considering getting a meal that's not the standard one, because then chances are you're going to get that meal first. So for the flights that don't necessarily include that meal in the ticket price, a lot of times I wouldn't pay the extra money to get the airplane meal, and instead I would either bring my own food to the airport, or I would just buy a sandwich or something once I made it to my gate, and I would eat before I got on the plane. This is an important detail because I definitely recommend getting as much of your nighttime routine in as possible before you get on the flight. I would always wash my face, moisturize, and brush my teeth in the airport bathroom before getting on the plane, even if I knew I was going to eat a meal later on the plane. And every time that I'm in an airport bathroom brushing my teeth or washing my face, I always get strange looks no matter what country I'm in, and I've never seen anybody else doing it at the same time. So I don't really know if this is an uncommon thing. Let me know in the comments if this is something you do as well, to know that I'm not alone, or I guess let me know in the comments if this is a very weird thing to do. But honestly, getting ready in an airport bathroom before I get on the plane is just what makes sense to me, because I honestly never know if I will be able psychologically to use the bathroom on the plane. I'm not joking. It takes a lot for me to be able to use an airplane bathroom. I don't know if it's just because it's a super small space or because I'm afraid of how dirty it's going to be, but I mean, I don't know, I just never know if I'll be able to use it. So if I do happen to have a meal on the plane and I do happen to be able to use the bathroom, then I'll brush my teeth again once I'm on the plane. But if I cannot use the bathroom, I'll eat my meal and then I'll wait until the morning when we arrive, and then as soon as we touch down, I will then again go into the airport bathroom and brush my teeth. This is why included in my nighttime routine, every time before I get on the plane, I will brush my teeth, because I honestly don't know if I'll be able to do it on the plane as well. I think this really boils down to the lesser of two evils, either airplane bathrooms or not brushing your teeth for the whole night. I'm definitely planning on bringing some gum or breath mints for my sake. It's not really gonna matter for anyone else, because you should be wearing your mask on the overnight flight the whole time. I haven't yet flown during the pandemic, but I know that this is a protocol that is in place and that I obviously will be following. So I've heard about some people whose skin reacts pretty badly when they wear masks for a super long amount of time. And I'm talking about, I don't want to say the normal masks, but I'll put a picture up here, these types of masks. If your skin does not take nicely to these and you think it's going to be really hard to wear the mask during the whole flight, I would recommend taking a cloth mask or even a silk one. I haven't tried that, but I've heard that's really good for sensitive skin, to put under this mask once you're on the plane. Again, I've heard that this works really well. I haven't tried it myself. If anybody else has, please let us know in the comments, help us out. And speaking of COVID precautions, before you get on your overnight flight to France, you should double check the protocol to get from your country, for me the United States, to France. As of right now, today is September 21st, vaccinated travelers from the United States to France don't have to take a COVID test. All you have to do is show proof of your vaccination, and you're going to have to sign a sworn statement, which I've heard is something that you do once you get to France. It's something that you're provided with. You don't have to create it yourself. Again, that's what I've heard. If you are not vaccinated, however, and you are going at least from the United States to France, this is everything else that you will have to do. It's quite a long list, so pause the video if you want to read the whole thing. But in addition to checking the protocol just in general between your country and France, you'll also want to look at the guidelines that your specific airline provides, because they might have additional rules. And the last thing that I will say that I have learned from all of my overnight flights is that you should 100% be packing warm clothes and layers to wear on the plane. More often than not, the plane is going to become super cold during the night, and even if you like sleeping in the cold, it might be too cold for you. I personally like being super warm when I sleep. I'm planning on wearing plush line leggings under my jeans, layers on top, so a t-shirt and a sweater, and I'm going to use my winter coat as a blanket. Definitely think layers, especially if you're afraid that you're gonna be too warm, then you can just peel off a couple layers and it'll be fine. And whatever you do not forget to actually bring these with you once you go to the airport, because that's what's happened to me in the past. I had my suitcase and my other bags packed, and I left out my warm clothes for the flight. Didn't realize until I was at the airport that they were back at my house. So prepare to bring warm clothes and don't forget them at your home. Those are all of my tips if you're going to be traveling soon. Bon voyage, bon courage, and à la prochaine!